As always, by Clinton Boring, my name is Ryan Zatkoviak. The pre-show topic was begging for a change in discussion, sir. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. It is a heater here in Columbus this week, as I'm sure it is in Ann Arbor. I don't want to
Mhm.
complain too much. It's the weather's beautiful. It's
No,
just
it's not.
hot.
No, it's not beautiful. There's
Well,
nothing beautiful about this.
well, we could be reversed. We could be like negative
No,
15.
no, no. By 10 times out of 10, would rather it be negative 15 degrees than this bullshit. No, no, no.
We'll have to
See,
save that debate for another
okay,
day.
you see, you think it's fine because you're in an air conditioned house and I'm in an air conditioned house, and it's quite pleasant in my basement right now, I will say.
Hmm.
And even like upstairs where it's a little warmer, it's not too bad. I have not been uncomfortable sleeping the last 2 nights. Imagine this shit without air conditioning.
Well, the park I took the boys to today, it's mostly shaded, but there's also a camping area there, and there are people who are in tents.
No, that would be
That sounds like
so
death.
miserable. That would be,
Like,
you were hotboxing yourself.
yes. I literally sweat just sitting here in air conditioner doing this show sometimes.
Dude,
I don't even want to imagine what I'd be like laying in that godforsaken tent talking about swamp ass.
I
Good Lord.
literally was standing outside for 5.5 minutes yesterday at like 8:30 p.m. to water the grass and the plants, and I was profusely sweating, like dripping down my face, sweating.
That's tough, man.
I don't like
Abs-
it. Whereas if it's cold, it's like it's not pleasant, but also I can put on a hat and a scarf and another coat, and I am more or less fine.
you could put on a hat and a scarf and another coat when it's this hot, too. You're just going to be in the hospital.
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's a certain point you can only take so many layers off before you end up in prison.
Go to jail.
Yeah.
Or people point and laugh at you.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
you look like it's cold outside, but it's not. Anyways, well, guys, quick shout out tonight to our friend Ty Hildenbrandt from the Solid Verbal. I got this merch in like February, and I've been meaning to wear it just to shout the guys out. Solid Verbal, great college football podcast. They cover all of college football, including Group of Five. Fantastic duo, but wanted to shout them out. And then Ryan's got a local OU shout out on his shirt tonight. What do you got for us, Ryan?
There's Jackie O's Brewery.
Jackie O's Brewery, baby.
Clinton, it's so fucking hot out that I have to wear t-shirts.
I know you're not wearing a hoodie tonight. That threw
Normally
me.
I
And you came
normally
on glasses. You're like Clark Kent.
okay.
And then your
Well,
alter ego is Superman.
listen, the working on Monday shit is not going well. It's completely screwed up my weekend, and my feng shui is off, and I've had a wicked headache for like 3.5 hours, so I just took my contacts out because whenever I get wicked headaches 2 days in a row when my eyeballs start to feel weird, I know it's time to change the contacts.
Yeah. What are you drinking tonight, Ryan? You got anything?
I just got a LaCroix.
All right. Well, I got a high noon peach. I didn't feel like a Sam Adams beer. I wanted something a little lighter late tonight. But I think once we start kicking off our pick'em shows again this Thursday, I got to be more consistent about having a brewski
I'd probably do
each
that.
time. So, well, guys, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for those who retweeted my 25 minutes to go post. And if you guys are joining us live tonight, thank you. You can find us on any of your socials: X/Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, ITP, CFB. Make sure you hit like on any of the videos and give us a follow. We've got some really fun stuff coming up for you guys starting next Monday with Matthew Shelton. He will be our first beat writer to join us as we start the fall previews, and it will be covering Northwestern. And then I believe, if I get my dates right, next Wednesday, Sonny Verma will be joining us from Locked On, Illinois, to talk about the top 15 ranked Illinois Fighting Illini coming into 2025. So we're looking forward to that. And then, of course, you can check us out on your podcast feed the next morning: Amazon, Spotify, Apple, wherever it is, you can find us. Follow us there and leave us a 5-star review to help grow the show. We appreciate you guys. We've got some fun stuff on tap tonight. We're talking a little bit, as Ryan loves to call it, bold peas. I'm
Oh,
kidding. He hates that.
Don't put that in my mouth.
Bold predictions tonight. We've got 5-ish each. I'm sure Ryan might have went extra credit and
Clinton,
went 6 or
if you
7
wanna,
again.
if we wanna, I actually did go 7, but if you want to
Of
rewind
course.
it to our pre-show conversation, the end result of that is you having a bold P.
Yeah, I would say we had quite an interesting conversation pre-show that probably should not be
Yeah, I was
discussed on
gonna
air,
say we're gonna move
or
on.
we will end up getting the Pornhub sponsorship that we didn't want.
Oh, I should have put that sound in the Damn. All right. I get it. I'm gonna figure out how to bring that one
Speaking
out.
of sounds, guys, we can't let you hear it tonight, but Ryan creates some pretty damn good clips. And if you guys remember our playoffs sound from last year,
That one's coming back this
was
year. That's coming back
phenomenal.
later this year.
It is coming back for season 2 of Inside the Pylon. However, we mentioned we're going to do a 6-pack of questions this year for the fall previews, and Ryan has created a fantastic sound. Unfortunately, y'all are going to have to wait till Monday to hear it, but it is absolute gold. Great job, Ryan.
It's a close one. The playoff. You guys, what you don't realize is that playoff sound is literally my entire CD. Like it's just like vibrations on the page whenever I haven't applied for a job, and since I got the job, I haven't. I don't plan to, but when I do, eventually, in whenever years or whatever, I'm just gonna hand that to someone. And it's just gonna play that sound, and they're gonna be like, "Hire this man."
This guy's a banger, quite literally. It's more play on words there from what we were talking about pre-show.
Oh, brother. Okay.
Well,
Simmer down.
Ryan, I wanted to before we get to the bold predictions tonight, I had a couple things I wanted to discuss with you.
Oh boy.
And the first one was a question that I posed, I believe the latter half of last week, but it was our biggest poll vote to date. I think it almost got 300 votes. So, hey, we have grown some. 300 compared to the usual 10 that we get.
Yeah, good for us.
So, my opening question for you tonight, Ryan, was what's the better chance of occurring, Ryan? Penn State goes 12-0 or they go 9-3?
Oh boy. Mate, you should have told me to pull up Penn State's schedule beforehand, you ding dong. Fuck, that is so hard.
It's this continued play on words from pre-show
All right,
conversation.
this is bad. I'm not even trying to do this intentionally anymore. So, oh my god, I don't know.
This is a doozy. I pat myself on the back for coming up with that one.
So I think operating under the 9-3 assumption, I feel like they would have to then lose every big game because I mean I think Iowa's a tough game. That's not a game I see them losing. So you're saying that they're going to lose to Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana.
Nebraska's on there.
They're not losing to Nebraska at Beaver Stadium, Indiana, November.
So if it were my vibe for the third loss, it's Oregon, Ohio State, and then Iowa, because it's at Iowa. That would be my third.
Yeah,
If I were to have to pick one,
yeah, but that's also after they play two dog water Big Ten teams and then have a bye.
well, Ryan, their whole entire schedule is dog water, other than 2 games essentially. Do you see that off season it might as well be an off season schedule, preseason schedule.
No, I know. I've commented on the absolute monstrosity that is their non-conference schedule. They literally do not play a football game until week 5.
Yep. Oregon.
They don't play a football game. They literally could put the scout team out there the first 3 weeks of the season, and then they have a bye week, and they would be 3-0 heading into Oregon.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's a joke.
We got to talk with Matt Flip about this when he's on. Bonus question: why does the opening schedule suck?
Yeah,
Now I know it's planned years in advance. There's not a whole lot they can do about it. But
I already know Penn State fans love me, but so this feels like one of those unstoppable force, or the stoppable force meets the movable object, I guess, since we're talking about this pejoratively, where it's like I don't see how any of like Penn State, I've made this comment on this show multiple times. They are literally late stage Brian Kelly era Notre Dame, where they can't beat anyone who's has more talent than them, but they also don't lose to bad teams. They just don't. Like they are slump proof in that way. Like they will beat everyone that they're supposed to beat, and then they will not beat a single team that they're not supposed to beat. So given that, man, I think I'm gonna have to say 12-0, given that Oregon is you guys all heard my Oregon hot take last week, so you know my thoughts on how that offense is. And I mean, maybe after 4 weeks in the season, we have a little bit of a different tune on Oregon, but Penn State does get the game at home, so that's beneficial. The first weekend of November at Ohio State, that's going to be tough. And I know Ohio State lost a lot, but by that point in the season, with the talent on hand, with the coaching staff that they'd assembled, you'd think that they would be rolling pretty good there. But also, first year starting quarterback, there can be ups and downs in that. It's not always going to be progression linear on a straight line. And it's not like it's a first year starting quarterback who's been in the system 3 years already. You know, he's still only a redshirt freshman. So I would say probably more likely 12-0 than 9-3. I would be fucking floored if they went 9-3. Like, I think, like, worst case scenario, their floor is 10-2.
What, before I give you what the answer to the poll was, what happens if they go 9-3? And I'm assuming they're missing the playoff at 9-3, right? We're not giving a 9-3
Oh, no, no,
and the
no.
12
No,
teamer in the
no, no,
playoff.
Clinton, there's no way that they are going in the playoff at 9-3.
So what happens then? What happens to James Franklin? You gonna fire more coordinators this time and blame them, or is this finally
Oh my God.
what the do we do?
So that's kind of one of those questions that you like almost can't even answer it until it happens, because that feels like, given the mentality around this football team this year, the quote unquote natty or bust mentality, like if you straight up like aren't even in a position to be in the playoff discussion in the end of November, like that's as bad of a phase plan as you like. Even like a comparatively 9-3 is a pretty good year for sure. And I get everything is relative to what your normal is. Like, you tell a freaking Michigan State fan they're going 9-3 this year, they'd be like, "Fuck yeah, sign me up."
Yeah.
You tell a Penn State fan they're going 9-3 this year, I guarantee you at least 50% of the spot responses would be, "I will pack James Franklin's U-Haul out of Happy Valley."
Yep.
And it's like, if it was like early in the tenure, right? Or like, let's say for some reason he took another job last offseason and they hired an established coach, but everything else was the same, and you go 9-3 in the first year with a new head coach, you can almost excuse that regardless of the roster, because there's still coaching turnover. It's early in the tenure, yada, yada, yada. You're what? Year 10, year 11? And you've been building for this moment, and you've brought everyone back, and you're very like publicly trying to repeat the playbook of the last two national champions. And if you go 9-3 and don't even make the playoff, I don't know, man. That feels like,
You're cooked.
yeah. And it's like, is it a good season? Yes, but also favorable schedule, mostly favorable schedule, we'll say. But like, you're getting Ohio State and Oregon, and as good of a roster opportunity as you could possibly get, those two teams, plus everything you brought back. Like, if you don't do it this year, when are you going to do it there? Like, it's just not.
Because you're getting the Michigan Ohio State roster turnover after this year.
Oh yeah, everyone's gone, and it's not even like, well, you could possibly bring some guys back. It's like they are legitimately out of eligibility and cannot come back. And it just feels like, if that were to happen this year, it would. If I were a Penn State fan, I would probably feel like, well, we've hit our ceiling with this guy, and even though he's a good coach and we have it pretty good compared to 115 other college teams, like, we want to win national championships here, and we just don't think that this guy can do it. It's like when the Stars fired their head coach, and I get there were extenuating circumstances, and he fucking threw the franchise goalie under the bus and then ran him over 5 times with it. But you sit there and you look at a guy and you say, sure, you've gotten us to the conference finals 3 years in a row, but we think this is your ceiling. And as great as this has been, and there are 30 other teams that would kill to be in this situation right now, like, our goal is to win a Stanley Cup, and we don't think you can do it, so we're moving on. Like, sometimes you have to make that hard decision, and there's risk that comes with that. Like, it could sure as hell get a lot worse, but it could also get better. And I mean, like, you look at Notre Dame with Marcus Freeman, like, that could have gone one of two ways. Like, he could have flamed out spectacularly, and it looked like he was going to a couple of times, but you take a chance on a new head coach on the off chance that, hey, we think this guy has a much higher ceiling, and that's so far looking like a pretty good bet for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with Ryan Day in Ohio State, right?
Yeah, I was going to make that comparison. It's the Michigan portion, right? Like, the Penn State's on the much higher. This would be them not even making it, because they don't have a true rival. But many people wanted Ryan Day fired year after year after year that he's lost to Michigan, because, let's be honest, you were spoiled with the era of Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer. The only blemish on that was one for Tressel, and then the intermediate year with Fickle. Other than that, you went 2 decades and lost twice. and then you lose 4 times. And as most things with this fan base, as much as I love the Buckeyes, you're spoiled. You're spoiled by the players you have. Every defensive end now has to be a Nick Bosa or a Chase Young, or they're not good. And
Mm-hmm.
when you live in that world, you make yourself, or you make it look like that, like JT Tuimalaus and Jack Sawyers aren't any good when they really are. They're just not Chase Young and the Bosas, who are genetic freaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's same with quarterbacks. It's like, how do you get better than Justin Fields? How do you get better than CJ Stroud? Like, you don't always have to look at it how it's better. Like, just enjoy what you have. So, I would be very interesting to see what would happen with Franklin with this season, with everything on the line. 9-3, like something had to go awry there with Aller's play too. And then if you're looking at the future for his draft stock, and I think if you had to guess right now, he'd be number one quarterback in the class. I'm sure some people would pipe up Arch Manning, but if I had to project, I would like my 3-year starter versus a 1-year starter coming out to lead my team. But it would be interesting. It was a very overwhelming win in our poll, Ryan, and it was 72% to 28% in favor of 9-3.
Wow.
Most people commented and said they have no belief that Big Game James can show up and knock off both Ohio State and Oregon.
No, and I think like that's a very fair and reasonable take. And I know Penn State fans won't like to hear it, but like you're at a point with this guy that like you guys can believe in him, and I think that's great that you do, but you can't sit there and look at other fans who are like, this guy can't win a big game when he can't win a big game. His fucking record speaks for itself, and then get offended when people are like, we don't think this guy can do it. I mean, it was the same thing with Harbaugh at Michigan. Like, people did not believe in him until he did it.
How many times do they want him fired? Since when did he come in? 2015, 2014?
Oh, sure.
How many times over the years they want him canned?
His contract. They cut his pay by 50% because they couldn't fire him outright.
Oh,
Like,
Yep.
and I get that, like, it takes 1 year, and then I mean, same thing. I mean, Brian Day just did it. He was the guy who couldn't get over the hump.
now
until
he's
he got
here
over the
till
hump.
2032 now or something, extension.
And,
He's not going anywhere.
you know, if Penn State goes out and goes 12-0, wins the Big Ten, wins the national title this year, then there's not going to be big game James talking anymore.
James Franklin will be set for the rest of his tenure. He will walk out and retire himself, unless something god awful happens, obviously. But he will get to ease himself out, because that's what these people want is the national championship, and you have the team that could do it. And we'll get into this with Matt Flip, guys, like talking more about, we mentioned the wide receivers, the tight end replacement. That's the pieces that were missing last year, were the receivers. Who's going to step up? I saw a post over the weekend, last Friday, and it was ranking the Big Ten wide receiver corps, and they had Penn State at 3. And I'm like, excuse me, I don't think that's fair. I think you should be out of the top 5. Absolutely.
I think
Washington was 7. And I think with Denzel Boston being a potential wide receiver 1, and that's one receiver, that carries a ton of weight for me, that he's that talented, how he elevates the room. Oregon takes a hit, obviously, because Evan Stewart's gone, and you don't know what you have. Jeff made a good point talking about what Nebraska has acquired and brought in. They're at least proven players. We don't quite know what... I get the young man, again, I'm blanking on his name, he's coming over from Troy. He's proven at the level he played at. He's not proven at the Big Ten level. And it's the same thing kind of with Mark Gronowski, right? He's proven at the FCS level, but he's never taken a Big Ten snap. So there's still questions. That doesn't mean a guy isn't good. We just haven't seen him against top-level competition yet.
No,
so
I think
it'd be interesting.
I mean, I think there was still a lot of deserved skepticism around Penn State's receiving core until they got Pena from Syracuse. I think that's
that helps a lot.
That's a legitimate needle-moving transfer portal addition.
Although, in talking with Zach Seiko when it happened, he didn't seem to be overly as thrilled because he thinks he's just going to be more of the slot guy.
I mean, his yards per... I mean, he's not a big play guy. He's more of that volume receiver.
No, but damn, if you could just give Aller a wide receiver, not tight end, talking Tyler Warren, just a wide receiver that can be a reliable target for him to catch passes in the middle of the field, it would be great.
You need someone who can get open. This guy can get open. You literally, your last football game you played, your receivers had 0 catches.
It's embarrassing. That's more than embarrassing.
This is a guy this is a guy who can at least get open. He's not necessarily going to blow you away down the field, but
And I get how elite Notre Dame secondary is, but dear God, you can't tell me one receiver can catch a pass.
Hmm?
One guy, just
Nope.
one.
Nope. Leonard Moore. Revis Island.
All right. Well, a little more quickly this time before we get to the bold predictions. Ryan, I take issue a little bit with your team's your favorite team's rival, the USC Trojans.
What did they do to you?
And they didn't do anything to me. It's just the 30 recruits they have right now and the money they are handing out. Last week, $2.2 million rumored to Luke Wafel, defensive end from the East Coast, Ryan, New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
and is going to USC. There's a rumor out there that they paid, I believe, $3 million to get the tight end that they signed.
Uh-huh.
And then a young man from Ohio, over $1 million. USC is throwing bags of cash like it grows on trees.
Mm-hmm.
So my question to you is USC just Texas A&M but in the Big Ten?
Yes.
Just going to throw cash at people and never achieve anything, and then after next year, these kids are all going to go in the portal?
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to realize that we all can't play. You can't put your class together by paying kids and saying, we will pay you $20,000 a month to remain committed.
Yeah.
I don't think it's 20. I don't know if it's $20,000 a month. They're paying kids to stay committed.
Yeah, I mean, when you're getting allotted now with this new clearinghouse house settlement deal of $20 million, I get it. Maybe USC wants to give $19 million to their football program and $1 million to everyone else because they
Well,
don't
these
care.
are. I don't know if these are all. I don't
No,
think this
these
is
are
all
coming from NIL deals.
is right. Well, I don't know if it's from the clearinghouse.
No,
thing
there.
yet.
A lot of the talk is from separate NILs, and what I've been listening to is the clearinghouse stuff takes effect now.
Yes.
Like you have to abide by the rules now, and then come July 1st, you may have to pay the piper on it. So these additional NILs that USC is throwing at people, they have to get approved.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they may try to sue or whatever, but there's some people out there who believe this is going to hold up, and they're not going to be able to sue to get out of it. And then USC is, I don't use this word much on the show, but they're fucked if that happens. You'll be screwed because those 30 kids in your class will be gone before signing day.
I mean,
Not all of them, but some of
So-
them, right?
one of the popular tropes that Michigan fans love to use to disparage Notre Dame recruiting is, well, their class always falls apart. And
That guy's
last
not there
2
anymore.
no, where he is, Clinton. He's running USC's recruiting department right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the Keon Keeley and the Peyton Bowen and the Dante Moore saga and all the other decommitments
Will be
Fun
the Luke
USC.
Wafel and the Albert Hill and the, I don't know the guy's name that's a tight end, but it's coming. It's going to happen. And even if they somehow survive, let's say this period, what are you gonna do when they go 7-5 this year again? That $2.2 million look great playing for a team that's 7-5, or would you rather take $1 million for a team that's going to go 10-2, 11-1, 12-0, and then you're going to make more money while you're there?
Gives you something to think about.
So thoughts, guys. Don't always chase the bag. I know it's hard. These young men deserve the money they're going to get, but that doesn't mean you don't get bad advice. So, all right, let's get to the meat of it, Ryan. The bold predictions.
How many did you have?
17.
That's
No,
how
I
many
have
you had.
5.
Okay. I was gonna say I did 7. I went kind of crazy today.
That's all right. Kick us
I had a
off
very-
then,
I
Ryan.
had a very productive afternoon.
You've had 2 straight productive Mondays.
Well, this fucking waking up at 5 o'clock to go to work is really
Screwing you over.
yeah. Because now it's like I'm up, I'm at 'em, and then I get out of work and it's like, well, I'm not just gonna go home and take a nap. I'm just gonna be productive with my day.
Yeah.
So I get work done instead of just lounging around and saving all my bullshit that I would love to do on Monday. I get it all done Sunday now. So
What are you
now
going to
I'm-
do with NCAA football now? You don't have your Monday to play all day.
Oh my God, Clinton! That game comes out in 2 weeks. I pre-ordered the deluxe edition because I want the 3-day early release. It comes out noon Eastern on the 7th. I literally I get off work at 11:30. I'm going to come home, and as long as it's not 800 degrees, I'm going to walk my dog. I'm going to have lunch, and I'm going to play that game for the rest of the day.
There you go. Well, you'll be looking for the Dynasty invite this year since we have crossplay now.
I'm excited for it.
I'm looking forward to it.
So my thing with these predictions is I like going. I think I have a couple that are like a little oddly specific, but I like going a little more general because
Mhm.
it's a little more fun. It's
And
not.
we're opposites because I like to be more specific.
Well,
So
no,
it's
people are
perfect.
just never going to be right with that. It's like, Dante Moore's going to win the Heisman. It's like, no, he's not. He actually
No,
might,
that
but
that is not a bold
I don't
prediction that
like
I put in.
being specific like that. But I do like saying things, Clinton, such as in 2025, a first year starting quarterback from the Midwest region will finish in the top 5 of Heisman voting. I'm not saying he'll be a finalist because they do that weird thing where sometimes there's 3 finalists,
Three,
sometimes there's 4,
four.
sometimes there's 5, sometimes I don't know if there's actually ever been 2, but he will finish in the top 5 of Heisman voting. And by first year starting quarterback, I don't mean at his new school. I thought about going transfers. I decided against it because that felt a little too easy, right? Because then that we would have gotten Dante Moore in there, would have gotten Nico in there. There's someone else we would have gotten in there, and I can't remember who it was now.
Gronowski,
Good, would have gotten Gronowski in there. Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Mendoza.
Yeah, would have got Mendoza. See, like that would have covered half the Big Ten. It's like, okay, so you're saying a Big Ten quarterback is going to be a fucking Heisman finalist? Okay, Sherlock, great. No, so this is more or less covering Julian Sayin, Bryce Underwood, C.J. Carr, and Drake Lindsey. I think
Fair.
one of those 4 quarterbacks will be a top 5 Heisman vote getter this year.
Would you consider Lincoln Keenholz in there? Because he's technically.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I'm not counting the Missouri start.
No, he didn't. We didn't start.
He started. Oh, that's right. Devin Brown did. Good
Yeah,
lord.
Devin Brown
Yeah.
played 3 plays and blew his ankle.
Broke his ankle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a first year starting quarterback will finish in the top 5 in the Midwest. The first year Midwest, not just like overall sport.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first bold prediction.
I like it. Well, if you've got 7, give us another one then.
Do I have 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I do have 7. Okay. So last year, Clinton, 5 Big Ten teams finished the season with at least 10 wins. That number will be less in 2025. So there will be no more than 4 teams in the Big Ten that finish with 10 wins. That includes postseason.
Okay.
I think the conference is going to be a little deeper this year. I know we have Purdue and Northwestern kind of bringing up the end, but I think that kind of fleshy middle, like Nebraska taking a little bit of a jump forward, and I know Minnesota still won 8 games last year, but if they got an extra win, it wouldn't surprise me. If USC went better than 7-6 this year, it wouldn't surprise me. So I think I don't know, like whereas the last 2 years in the Big Ten, it's felt very top heavy, where you've had kind of those 2-3 elite teams at the top, but then everything else after that's just been kind of meh. I think the middle class of the Big Ten this year is going to be a little bit better, and it's going to limit the overall ceiling.
I like it.
of the conference.
Kind of building off of my stock up last week on the depth of the Big Ten.
Right. Yep.
A lot more competitiveness in the league this year. You need to be aware every week because I guess Vandy was what, a 7-win team this year? So a 6-7 win team in the Big Ten might clip a big boy this year. It could happen. There's enough depth in the league. All right. Well, I'm going to go with, I feel like I'm going to start with my number 1. We're going to start with Penn State. This is a beyond the season prediction here. Drew Aller wins the Heisman
Oh.
and then goes first pick in the 2026 NFL draft for my first bold prediction.
So the Browns, right?
That's what it feels like, right? When Shador doesn't work out. He just got his speeding ticket though, so didn't have Daddy to get him out of that one.
Dude, I just read it popped up on my Twitter. I follow a columnist from the Toledo Blade, and he wrote something that was, I don't remember what the headline was, but it was like speeding off the tracks, why hapless Shador and Browns are a perfect marriage or something like that. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, spicy. But yeah, I think Aller, again, it's an if not now win. I mean, it's definitely if not now win because he's done after this year. But I would think if you could culminate winning the Heisman, I'm not saying they win the Natty. You don't have to win the Natty to win the Heisman, clearly, if you look at last year, Shador. You don't have to make the playoffs to win the Heisman now.
Also true.
How amazing is that? Travis Hunter, sorry. Hunter won it, not Shador. But anyways, Aller taking the Heisman, I think as long as he's obviously had a great season if he wins the Heisman, barring Penn State is 9-3, 8-4, and he wins the Heisman. Again, I don't know how he does that, but again, we had that happen last year. Him getting the Heisman and going first pick in the 2026 NFL draft, comboing that, And I feel like it's my lowest bold prediction, but the boldness is they didn't have anything last year other than Tyler Warren for him to throw it to. So I think he has to earn this Heisman, right? Like he's going to have to put up phenomenal stats and he's going to have the receivers to do it. He has the offensive coordinator to do it. And I really believe that pair goes together. If he wins the Heisman, he's going first in the 2026 NFL draft, barring Arch Manning has almost as great of a season, finishing runner up, and then Arch Manning's name gets him over Aller in the draft. But that's my first one. What is your, now we're up to what, 3 for you or G?
Yeah, this is my third. So this is kind of building off of what I just said. I have a team that won less than 8 games last year will win 9, exactly 9, in 2025.
To Michigan State. No,
Could be
Wisconsin.
Michigan State, could be Michigan State, could be Wisconsin. 3 I highlighted are USC, Washington, and Nebraska. Those are the 3 that I would be looking out for in this.
Who do you think have the better odds there, Ryan, of those 3?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I think there are 2 that stand out to me above the rest.
Not fucking
out of that.
USC. I would say probably Nebraska and Minnesota.
You just said Washington.
Oh, fuck me. Washington, that's right. I was there looking at Nebraska's schedule and Minnesota popped up. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
they play each other. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Minnesota won 8 games last year, so they don't count in this. No, I've said multiple times that if you guys are looking for a playoff long shot bet that you just want to throw $5 down on, Washington would be the team that I would pick.
Absolutely. I agree. And I'm looking forward to getting Roman back on the show, give him a little 6-pack of questions this year, and we'll get his thoughts on that. But of those 3, I think I like Washington kind of like a 1A, Nebraska a 1B, and then USC clearly on a different line. And I just don't know what we're going to get from Jaden Maeva
Sure.
in this season. If we need to make a move to Hassan Longstreet at some point, I don't know. We'll have to see. And my faith is kind of dwindling in Lincoln Riley a little bit. You had so much faith in the Big 12, but that's because the Big 12 didn't play defense, and the Big 10 does. So USC doesn't play defense to an extent that they need to, so they got to figure it out. So I like your question there, or you're not your question, your bold P there. So my next one is going to stay in Happy Valley. Trevor Pena will be the first Penn State wide receiver to go over 1,000 yards since Jahan Dotson. Do you know what year that was, Ryan?
2016?
2021.
Oh, fuck me. Jesus. That's not
One-
even that long.
And it was 1,182 yards. But not only do I think he'll go over the 1,000, I think he will eclipse Dotson's of 1,182 to add kind of to that bold prediction. But if you watch what happened last year with Penn State's receivers and how god-awful it was, and then in the years preceding, it was 22, 23, 24, 25. That's 4 years since you've had a 1,000-yard receiver, and you've had Aller for 2 of those, now going on 3 of those, and you haven't produced a 1,000-yard receiver. You have to rely on your tight end to do all your work. We'll see what Pena does this year for them. But as you mentioned earlier, I think he's a great addition. He's going to give Aller a bunch of midfield, mid-range, 5, 10, 15-yard targets, and I think that could really eat it up for them.
Well, Clinton, you know who hasn't had a 1,000-yard receiver longer than Penn State?
Iowa.
Notre Dame.
Really?
2019, Chase Claypool was the last 1,000-yard receiver for Notre Dame. And in the spirit of your wide receiver prediction, I'm going to uncork my Notre Dame wide receiver prediction. In 2024, in 16 games, Notre Dame's leading receiver had only 593 yards. That was Jaden Greathouse. I think they will have at least 3 players, not just wide receivers. I'm throwing tight ends in there too. They will have 3 players with over 600 receiving yards this year.
I thought you were about to say 3 with over 1,000. I'm like,
God, no,
you are
absolutely not.
higher than a kite.
No, I'm not high.
Go to bed.
That's also not happening. Yeah, so they're going to have to replace about 190 rushing attempts and 900 rushing yards and 17 rushing touchdowns from the quarterback. They are not getting that from either of the guys on this roster. So unless they plan on running their running backs into the ground, they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more. So good receiver room. Malachi Fields from Virginia, I think, is going to easily eclipse 600 yards as long as he stays healthy. I think Jaden Greathouse will also eclipse 600 yards, and I don't know who the third will be. It'll either be some combination of Will Pauling or Jordan Faison in the slot or tight end Eli Raritan. Because they are not deep at tight end this year, so that boy is going to have to catch
Will
a lot.
Pauling. What
They
a
just
nice receiver room they have.
they just posted a video of him squatting like I don't know, I think it was 425 pounds.
Beast.
He's not a big man,
No,
and that's a
he's
lot of weight.
strong.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah, he's just you know.
I
I
tried
don't
to.
call. I don't want to call him short, right? But I'm just saying,
He's like
like
5'10".
he's compact. He's 5'10", so he can tolerate and move that load. It's not like he's 6'5" trying to squat that
No,
with long ass femurs.
I mean, I tried to back squat 225 last week, and I couldn't walk for 3 days. So, athlete.
I like to tell myself I could throw 315 on there and squat that, but
Nope,
not willing to bust my concrete floor in my basement to try that out.
I am over the hill. Okay.
All right, next one on the docket for me. I now see. I feel like these next three are pretty good, and you'll have to let me know on your thoughts.
Okay.
We're gonna go down the street of Southern California here, no pun intended. USC starting quarterback Jaden Maeva will be benched by the Notre Dame game, and Husan Longstreet will play the rest of the season as their starting quarterback.
That is a bold prediction.
It's gonna get spicier from here.
Wow.
I'm not sold on Maeva. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He clearly won Mountain West Player of the Year, right? And then freshman of the year. And then he looked fine at times last year. And I'm not saying his play will be horrific, but if they're not winning games and his play is average to a little bit subpar, Lincoln Riley's got a lot on the line.
Sure does.
And there's talk on national people now that if he goes 7-5 this year, or even 8-4, this could be the end of the line, regardless of the money they owe him.
Well, apparently they have a lot of it, Clinton. So
Yeah, clearly
move around a little bit.
they can take some of that stuff they're using for NIL and pay him off. But you could move Longstreet into the starting quarterback position and see what you got. And then if you're sitting in a hole, right, and then he propels you to get some wins that you weren't going to be expected to get, then maybe somehow Lincoln Riley holds on to his job if something goes awry. But I've got Maeva getting benched. Notre Dame is what, October 17th, somewhere around there?
Something like that.
Mid-October. So we're looking at like 6 games, and he's benched by then.
Clinton, I'm going down a rabbit hole right now.
Oh, boy.
So let's pretend Chase Claypool didn't exist. When was the last time Notre Dame had a 1,000-yard receiver that was not Chase Claypool? And can you tell me who it was?
Jeff Samardzija.
That's not quite that far back. They had some pretty good receivers since him, but
Let me see. Miles Boykin.
that was a good guess, but no, he only topped out at like 800 yards. But you were close. So he did that in 2017. So you're very close to the year. You would have intimate knowledge of this Notre Dame team because our teams played.
2019?
Nope. Colder.
Wait, do I need to go further back?
Yep.
Oh, God, is that... Did Ohio State kick their ass?
Yep.
Once you say it, I'm going to know it. Who is it?
It was 2015. Will Fuller had 1,258 yards.
Oh, yes. Will Fuller went to the Texans. Couldn't stay off the PEDs.
No.
Once he was in the NFL.
And he...
Yes, because he was on PEDs.
So he did that. He had 1,000 yards in 2014 and 2015. Those...
Nice.
If you eliminate...
Damn, I was right in between that, wasn't I?
We were pretty close, yeah.
Absolute burner, Will Fuller.
Yeah, he was really good.
Who was slinging him the rock in 15?
That would be Deshaun Kaiser.
Okay. Future star Green Bay Packers quarterback Deshaun Kaiser. No, Browns. And then he went to the Packers.
Yeah, he just...
Double duo.
Was not very good.
Not as good as that Malik Zaire, right? That guy who likes to talk smack on Twitter.
He had literally one good game. Literally, he had one good game.
No, I that's crazy, man, to think about that.
Yeah, they've had the last 10 seasons, they have had 3 1,000-yard receivers. 2 of them were, one of them, 2 of those seasons were the same guy, and they have not had one since 2019.
When's the last time Iowa State had a 1,000-yard receiver? Oh, yeah, Jeremiah Smith last year.
Literally 6 months ago.
It is nice to have that. Hey, listen, that wasn't always a given in Urban Meyer errors because you just run QB up the middle every time.
Yeah, and then you'd have, what's his
Zeke.
face? J.K. Dobbins rushing for 2,200 yards.
Zeke, J.K. Dobbins, what a run. What a run of guys.
Is it
Your
my
next
turn?
one. Yes.
Okay. In 2025, the Big Ten will have 4 playoff teams again. but only 2 of them will be repeat customers. So to
Okay.
refresh everyone's memory, your 2024 Big Ten playoff teams were Indiana, Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State.
Getting 2 repeats.
At least 2 of those teams will not make it this year. So we will have 4 Big Ten playoff
And
teams,
2 new.
and 2 of them will be new.
I would say highest betting odds of the new Illinois, Iowa.
I think that makes. I don't know if that's like technically correct from a betting odds standpoint, but I did have Illinois in my mind when I was making this one.
And then I think,
I think
close
Iowa.
Washington, Nebraska, around there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Illinois, Iowa would have to stand alone there. And then you're eliminating, most likely, I think Indiana, given the tougher schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying IU fans they can't do it, but I think they're the more obvious answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then who is the other one? Ohio State's early season matchup with Texas looms large. That's a super tough challenge. And if you drop 2 in the Big Ten,
Yeah,
I just can't see it. I just can't see him going below 10 wins. So I would say, honestly, Ryan, I don't know. Oregon's got some tough road spots this year, right? They got to go to Iowa. They got to go to Penn State. And they got another solid road game, right?
They closed the season at Washington.
At Washington, who hasn't lost a home game in multiple seasons.
Yep.
That's a DeMond Williams with a full season under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
A team that could be sitting trying to get to a 10th win and make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. And then you just talked about how you think Penn State more like a 12-0 versus 9-3, but
yeah, I would be floored
if Iowa's pushing for that potential playoff spot that you're mentioning as a new Big Ten team, that could be an elimination of Penn State.
That's also true.
That's spicy. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Because you called last year, you said one of Oregon or Ohio State will not make the Big Ten championship, and you got that.
You don't knock my blocks out of my hands, man. I got one in the chamber here.
All right, which one do I want to give? I'm going to go to the MAC, Ryan, because we don't give enough love to the MAC.
Oh, I thought about doing a MAC one, but I couldn't think.
Well, I got us on this. You guys want to see that flag behind me? Oh, yeah, go Bobcats. Here it comes. That's right, I said it. The Ohio Bobcats will defeat Rutgers and West Virginia.
Oh, wow.
And then repeat as MAC champions in 2025, defending their crown.
Well, that's going to be
Bobcats.
really hard, Clinton, because Bowling Green's going to win the MAC this year.
Not even close.
Eddie George first season.
Not happening. So I feel like I couldn't go 3-0 against the Power Four. That's not going to happen, and they're not going to beat Ohio State. But
if they beat Ohio State on a 0 to me after the NIU game scale, what would your implosion on this podcast be?
So
like?
it would be slightly softer because I'm an OU alum. Like, that would be such an amazing win for that program. That would top their win over Penn State.
Yeah.
Like, that would be the biggest win in program history. And somehow, if you snipped a West Virginia or Rutgers and you had that win over Ohio State and you run the MAC and you're 11-1,
I mean, you're a playoff team.
you're in the playoff because, I mean, God knows what happens to Ohio State after that if they lost the OU game. But could go on a Notre Dame route.
Listen, losing in week 2 to a MAC team is not a death sentence.
That would also be crazy because that's under the lights. That's the only night game Ohio State gets this year at home. So that would be diabolical. But I love the Bobcats here. Realistically, I do think they're getting 1 of 2 of Rutgers or West Virginia. But damn, it'd be sweet to see 2.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
Be pretty cool.
All right, here. Next one, Ryan.
The next one I have is Fernando Mendoza will lead the Big Ten in passing yards, but he will not be a first-team all-conference selection.
It's because the next guy I'm about to name will be. No, I'm just kidding. So he's going to lead him in passing yards, but he's not going to be an all-conference selection.
Well, not
First team. Okay, but then who would you project would eclipse him on that?
It's probably Aller.
That's true.
I think there might be a little, unless he because you look at yards, and I don't think people get too caught up in yards because of the difference in passing offenses. Like, you look at completion percentage too, they'll look at touchdowns, they'll look at turnovers. I think that Fernando Mendoza is going to be asked to do a little bit more in the Indiana offense than Drew Aller is in the Penn State offense. So I think there'll probably be few more turnover-worthy plays. So I think he probably, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, throws for 3,500 yards-ish. If we're gonna ballpark some numbers here,
Mm-hmm.
Aller probably finishes just over 3,000 yards. We'll say 30 touchdowns and 4 interceptions.
You
I don't know.
know, Penn State is going to make sure Singleton and Allen get theirs in
Yep.
this offense.
Yep.
Not saying Roman Himby won't. Indiana had a fantastic rush attack last year,
Yep.
but Mendoza, we now know why they maybe had to lean on that a little more because of Rourke having the torn ACL.
Yep.
Mendoza, as far as we know, should hopefully be healthy, and he's probably got a bigger and stronger arm than Curtis Rourke, and has played power four ball before. So I like that one. I like that
True.
one. All right, I think this is at number 5 for me, and my last one. Aiden Childs to Nick Marsh will score more touchdowns than Damon Williams to Denzel Boston in 2025.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
The potential number 1 wide receiver in the 2025 class. And then a quarterback who was, I can't even think of a comparison for more inconsistent last year than Aiden Childs, is rebounding enough this year to hit Nick Marsh for more TDs. Now, the reason that could happen is maybe Michigan State's trailing more. They have to throw more passes. They're a la more touchdowns. And people know what Denzel Boston is. So they're going to try to take him away. So it's bold because you know the name. And I think we all expect Damon Williams in theory to be better than Aiden Childs. You and I have been hyping up the Washington possible dark horse playoff train. And we're taking a bottom feeder from the Big Ten last year and giving them better stats. So that one I definitely want to keep track of because that would be quite interesting. And if Aiden Childs and Nick Marsh can pop off this year and Childs cuts those turnovers down, Michigan State's not going to be a playoff contender, but they're going to get 7-8 wins if they can find that consistency.
Yeah, I gotta remember not to throw my.
No
Both
kidding.
away.
I got to hold on to mine this year. I deleted them last year.
Embarrassing. Okay, we're my last one. We're doing a little throwback to my big hit Big Ten title game bold prediction this year. In 2025, the Big Ten title game will feature Penn State versus a team that is not Ohio State or Oregon. So neither of those two will make it to the Big Ten title game.
Yeah, that's not happening.
It's going to be Penn State versus Illinois, Penn State versus Michigan, Penn State versus Iowa, Penn State versus Nebraska, Penn State versus Minnesota, Penn State versus USC.
That has to be pretty bold on the bold meter because I don't see that happening.
All right, Clinton.
That would be crazy.
11-1 Illinois coming at you.
That would be pretty
First
cool to
round bye Illinois coming at you.
That would be pretty cool to see.
What if we got a rematch of Indiana versus Illinois for the Big Ten title game?
That's fine.
That would
Then
be-
something magical has truly happened.
Oh my God!
That also means that Penn State is staring down the barrel of 9-3 in that situation.
I think I would go to Indianapolis to just observe, like not even go to the game, just observe what the
Oh,
town's
going
like. I
going the
bet it
game would be fantastic.
I bet that atmosphere would be so lit.
Yeah, two teams, fan bases who, until recency, did not think they'd ever be there. And then you would have a revenge game. That'd be spicy.
That would be so fun.
That'd be hella spicy. You could also get your revenge. Penn State, Oregon. I said Penn State, Oregon. Yeah, Penn State, Oregon, Iowa. Obviously, you get the Ohio State, Penn State thing, but it might also do service to the Big Ten this year to get an Ohio State, Penn State rematch in the Big Ten title because you're not getting it next year. They're not playing next year. And I don't know if they're playing the year after. It might be a 2-year break. I'll have to check that to confirm, but they are definitely not playing next year. So a game that has been played for every year, I believe, for quite a long time. That's not a protected game. So this is the next year will be the first year we don't have Ohio State, Penn State.
That's
Kind
crazy.
of disappointed about that.
That's crazy.
Yep. And when your conference for so long has relied on top heavy teams, that is a weird matchup to not have. I'd reprieve for both those teams.
Well, sure.
To not
but
have
then
to go head to head, but
Then it sets up pretty well for them to play each other in the conference title game.
and then maybe cross paths in the playoff again.
Clinton, you will be shocked to hear this, but Penn State's non-conference schedule in 2026 is fucking ass again. Marshall,
What is it?
Marshall at Temple, Buffalo.
At least Villanova's not on there this time.
Bro, their Big Ten schedule is also not very good.
Well, it's great for them. That sets up nicely because they've got to refresh with a new team next year.
Wait a minute. Do they only play 3 Big Ten road games? Oh, no, they play 4. They're at Maryland, at Michigan, at Northwestern, at Washington, and then they host Wisconsin, USC, Rutgers, Purdue, and Minnesota. That is a very
They
manageable.
stave off Ohio State and Oregon. Damon Williams year 2, though.
It's true.
That at Washington, that will be a very stiff challenge. That's
What about
almost
that?
similar to Ohio State this year. Coming in there.
You guys are, at least you play Texas in the non-conference. Otherwise, you're playing.
You're at Texas, yeah. Well, the next few years are supposed to be at Texas, then split Bama, home and home, split Georgia, home and home.
Your guys' schedule is not very favorable in 2026.
There's a Navy is our feature one in like 2029. 30 and 31 supposed to be Georgia.
At Indiana, at Iowa, at Nebraska, at USC, hosting Michigan, Northwestern, Oregon, Maryland, and Illinois. That's tough.
Fun season.
That's tough.
Great time to go to 16.
Yeah, that'll be a great time for you guys to play every fucking Big Ten home game at noon. As per
I want to
usual.
talk about it, man.
Oh my gosh, you guys play Bowling Green in 2027.
Mark that as a W.
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
All right, man. Well, that's all I have for boldness tonight. I almost came up with an extra one, but I quite did not have the time. I think we came up with some good ones this year, though.
I agree.
I don't know how many we hit on last year because I didn't keep track of mine. But I will keep hold of these this year, and we'll see how many of them come true. And we're getting closer and closer to me defending my crown as Pick'em winner from 2024.
Yeah, we got to do that. I can't believe how embarrassing that was.
Yep. And we got some more fun segments, guys, we want to talk about off the air that we're going to bring to you. I talked to one of our avid listeners, Jacob, shout out, that we might have a little Ryan betting segment this year. Since Ryan is the better of the show and I'm not.
If you guys want to lose money, listen.
We're going to give it to you anyways.
Also, shout out to Nick. He is one of our student PTAs in the clinic. I don't know if he listens to the whole podcast, but he definitely listened to last week. He's like, sorry to hear about your back, man. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, listen to your podcast. I'm like, oh, shit.
That's great. Well, thank you guys. If you tuned in tonight, we appreciate y'all again. Check us out on your social platforms, Instagram, X, ITP CFB. Give us a follow there. Find us on YouTube, hit like and subscribe, ITP CFB, and find us next morning in your podcast feed, Inside the Pylon, Midwest College Football Podcast.
The next time we convene with you guys,
It's go time.
We are officially done with the summer program.
The BS that we had to come up with.
It
Past
is
time by.
It is it is go time. We are so
Strap the
close.
fuck up.
Yep. So
Let's go.
Monday the 30th.
The Ryan new sound that you guys will hear
New
19 times.
You'll hear it 19 times. It is going to be electric.
You will dream about it.
Yeah, we're really excited to start this again. We had a pretty good response to this last year. Now that we have people who actually follow us, we're hoping for a better response this year.
We're a little more established. We've already got 7 or 8 lined up, I think. So we'll do our best to keep to a timeline, but it'll be a little unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let you guys know when we know if a date changes or something.
Clinton's just going to spam the Twitter feed once the shows go up, so you'll find it. It's fine. But you know what? If you subscribe to the show on Apple or Spotify, you will get notified whenever we drop an episode.
Same with YouTube.
You will never miss an episode. Okay.
See you Monday.
Thank you for Clinton. I'm Ryan. It's go time.
Deuces.